Good morning. Welcome to the 2019 State of the University Address. My name is Gail Hackett, and I have the privilege of serving as Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm very pleased to welcome the many members of the community who are here today in the James Branch Cabell Library, as well as the many others who are joining us via live streaming through our website. I would also like to welcome the VCU Board of Visitors member who is here with us today, Todd Haymore. As you know, our former rector, Phoebe Hall, passed away earlier this month. Although we miss her deeply, her legacy will always be a part of the fabric of this university. So before we move into today's program, will you please join me in a moment of silence in honor of Phoebe Hall. Thank you. The State of the University Address is an annual tradition at VCU that provides the opportunity for each of us to reflect on the many successes and to learn about our future goals and aspirations. Before we welcome President Rao to the stage, let's take a few moments to meet some of the many people at VCU who exemplify our university's national prominence.
Hyperloop is a new idea for transporting goods and eventually people at a very fast pace with minimal impact to the environment.
So this experience will lead me into my future career as a product designer because it will give me more hands-on experience making parts and being hands-on with machines and tools.
Hyperloop is an example of what innovative universities do, and VCU is definitely a leading university for innovation.
We're doing something that's going to change the world one day, and being a part of that is amazing. It's an honor.
The mismanagement and land use conversion away from forests will erode the capacity of forests to sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere.
Scientifically informed management allows our forests to scrub more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and sequester it long-term in soils and in biomass.
One of the most cost-effective ways to scrub carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is just to let forests regrow and not convert forest land to other land types.
The State of the Carbon Cycle report provides a quantitative assessment of how much carbon our North American forests sequester. We're very interested in taking our science and influencing policy by communicating our science in accessible ways to policymakers.
My local hospital was ready to pull the plug on me. They were like, there's nothing more we can do. And I talked to Dr. Tang, and I said they just said that was too much of a risk. And he's like, I know, nope, we don't believe that here.
In our population that we've seen that 80+% of our patients who do require an artificial heart are able to successfully go on to get transplanted.
We are currently the largest and the most active total artificial heart center in the country. And we have done over 100 total artificial hearts, and a number of them have gone to successful transplantation.
They put their heart in, and it was like a complete change. And I haven't felt like this in a long time.
It's a great video. Gail, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for your continued fantastic leadership overseeing our academic programs, and more importantly, the future of our academic programs, along with your team, but also our faculty colleagues. Our faculty leadership is here, and I'm so pleased that you are here. I want to thank all of you who put some time into appearing in our video. Thank you for letting us highlight you. Please stand so that we have a chance to recognize you. You are the stars of our screen today. Thank you. You know, this is a really exciting time at Virginia Commonwealth University because we're celebrating some very significant milestones from our past, and we're certainly charting our strategic course as we look forward to the future. So when this institution began in 1838, no one could have ever imagined the enormous impact that we would make in 2019. The university has evolved in just astonishing ways, but that's really thanks to all of you, our faculty, our staff, our students, our alumni, our patients, our partners, and our friends, who really personify the soul of our mission. It's you. You have made us one of America's premier research universities. You've built an institution that's known for access to excellence, fundamental to economic and social mobility in this country. And this year, we'll expand our impact even more through a new strategic plan that we call Quest 2025. This is a plan that focuses on our national prominence. So, let's start this work by asking ourselves an important question, and that is, what does a nationally prominent VCU really look like right now? Well, what does it always look like? Let's go back to the very beginning. So what became MCV opened in 1838, and it very rapidly gained national prominence. In its first few years, observers noted, and I want to read this specifically because it's so well said, the advantages here afforded the student in contrasting with those of similar schools will not suffer by comparison. A full course of lectures in this college will be received as equivalent to the very best of medical schools anywhere. Medical students around the nation took notice back then too, because in 1859 alone, 244 students actually left their home institutions elsewhere so that they could enroll right here. And 70% of our class of 1860 were actually transfers. So now let's fast forward back to 2019, and national prominence and impact are still very much in our DNA. This past year alone, the final year of our transformative quest for distinction, you set institutional records for the graduation rate of our undergraduates, for invention disclosures, and for fundraising. We're serving more patients now than we have ever served. Our faculty is larger and it's stronger and it's more diverse. Since 2016, we've had the highest % increase in hiring minority faculty members in our history. And among them, it includes Guggenheim Fellows, Fulbright recipients, and NIH Career Award winners. And there are other ways that we could characterize them as well. But this is thanks in part to our shared efforts in the Institute for Inclusion, Inquiry, and Innovation. And it's because of our enduring institutional commitment that we will be more representative everywhere throughout this institution. Our first-year student class is also a majority-minority for the first time. And it's the largest class that we've ever had at VCU, with the same standards, by the way. Given our recent history, these students will succeed in every record-setting way. You've increased our 6-year graduation rate by 37% in just a little more than 10 years. Now that's a story we've all got to tell. So I want that to sink in for just a moment. A 37% increase in our graduation rate in just 10 years. That's amazing. You've achieved this in part by closing the gaps in graduation rates for historically underrepresented students and for students who receive Pell Grants. That's unheard of at almost any other research university in America. And it's a clear sign that VCU, we're doing our part to help Virginia realize its statewide goal of leading the nation in educational attainment by the year 2030. Our research enterprise has also grown by nearly a quarter in the last decade. You've set institutional records for research 8 times in those 10 years, by the way. And by the way, we learned just this week, once again, that we are ranked in the top 25 among public research universities in America. You remember I used to talk about 50, top 50? Now it's top 25 for several years in a row. And the group that does this is actually called the Center for Measuring University Performance. So, congratulations. The need, sure. And the need and the demand for our clinical services and expertise is more than it's ever been, including in the Commonwealth's longest-standing Level 1 trauma center and with our health plan that now serves about 250,000 Virginians. VCU earned a $21.5 million Clinical and Translational Science Award from the NIH. By the way, this is the largest single NIH grant that we've ever had in our history. But what it does is it promotes and expands research that helps us draw from the rest of the university to find cures for cardiac, pulmonary, and addiction diseases. Addiction diseases, something we're all very concerned about. Fewer than 1% of U.S. universities actually have a CTSA, and by the way, we're the only one in Virginia, so we've got a big responsibility on our shoulders. But we're there because of our colleague, Jerry Moeller. Jerry, stand wherever you are. Thank you. We put a lot on Jerry's shoulders, and he came through because he had a great vision, and he had the ability to translate that vision into very meaningful circumstances for those who were evaluating VCU. And VCU is, by the way, only one of 20 universities in America with both a CTSA and an NCI-designated cancer center, meaning that we're on the front lines of the war on cancer like almost no place else. By the way, Peter Buckley, our medical school dean, was the one who did that analysis and passed that on to me. You know, I want to tell you, speaking of the medical school, that I'm really proud of Alex Christ. He's now the 6th member of our faculty to be elected to the National Academy of Medicine. And Tang? Yes, that's a big deal. Not easy. And Tang, also in medicine, became the 3rd member of our faculty to be inducted into the National Academy of Inventors. Yes. For the 2nd time in 3 years, a company started by a VCU faculty member was actually named the best university startup in the entire nation. And yeah, you might as well recognize that too. And by the way, our students completed 1.3 million hours of community service last year, 5% more than the year before, and equivalent to about $30 million in value to our communities. Yeah. VCU backed 55 student-led companies in the past 5 years, with 2/3 of those started by students from minority backgrounds. Again, a reflection of where America's going and that we're a part of it. But they're a part of the reason why our economic impact in the Commonwealth of Virginia is more than $6 billion. And now, we have 19 academic programs that are ranked in the top 50 nationally, including 6 top 5 programs. Wow, what a year. And I have to tell you, this is really only a snapshot of what you, VCU, have achieved. Congratulations, and of course, as your president, I have to thank you for continuing to make VCU synonymous with what I will call rampant excellence. As I reflect on our national prominence as a public university committed to the public good, you've heard me say that many times, I think about the ways in which we impact people, the ways that we advance what I call the American dream. So James Truslow Adams, a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian, writer, and he was also the grandson of a Virginia merchant, he first gave phrase to this idea that in America, anyone can be successful. And so it was about 1931 when he wrote this, and I want to read exactly what he wrote. And he said, quote, there has been the American dream in which each man and each woman shall attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable and be recognized for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position, end quote. So in other words, what he's really saying is that who you are isn't going to determine what you can be. You'll prosper in this country because you are tenacious, not because of your heredity. That was true for Adams, and that was a while ago. So the question I want to talk with you a little bit about today is that really true today? Well, some people are going to say no. The American dream is obsolete. It's harder to get ahead. To them, the idea of bootstraps needs to be totally rebooted. So listen to this. About a third of our people say that anyone can still achieve the American dream today, and about half have abandoned the whole idea altogether. Last month, some of you may have caught the Washington Post column where a columnist said that the American dream is now a myth. Well, this is not just a cynical view. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Economic Development found that in terms of occupational mobility, the U.S. actually is roughly average among its 34-member free market nations. And we are dead last for economic mobility. Dead last. By this study, Americans face more obstacles to economic progress from one generation to the next than do citizens of almost any other capitalist democracy in the world. So, the idea of this being the land of opportunity could be misplaced, or maybe it's really not. Because those who hold college degrees still prosper personally and contribute to our nation's success dramatically. Higher education catalyzes social participation, democratic viability, and economic success. A bachelor's degree increases lifetime earnings by nearly 70%, and in fact, it's exponentially more for people who have degrees above the bachelor's level. Low-wealth students graduate into the same exact opportunities, including lifetime earnings, as their wealthier classmates. And by the way, this is an upward mobility that exists for no other social demographic. As a group, first-generation college graduates surpass their parents' median household income just 6 years after they graduate with a bachelor's degree. So while some might want to bury the American dream, a recent report from the American Association of Colleges and Universities said that most people still believe that higher education strengthens society. 3 out of 4 people see higher education as an important social good. And that's consistent, by the way, across respondents' ages, their ethnicities, and their political leanings. Most people think that universities like VCU absolutely prepare people to be successful, and they contribute to a strong American workforce. People with a college degree are 24% more likely to be employed and twice as likely, 2 times as likely, to actually own a business. Is that important today in our current economy? Certainly is. And people are, of course, voting with their feet. Millennials are on track to be the very most educated population generation, I should say, in American history. And right behind them, the Generation Z that we call them, 90% of them believe that it's a lot easier to succeed when you have a college degree. So no wonder that the culturalist Larry Samuels, that many of you have heard of, said, and I want to quote him correctly too, sending kids to college is still the heart and soul of the American dream, end quote. So the evidence is clear. Universities make our nation stronger by helping our people to succeed. We've certainly seen this at VCU, and let me give you some information about VCU. 17% of our students move up 2 or more income quartiles after they graduate. By the way, this is among the very highest of any university in the Mid-Atlantic region where we've done our research. 2% actually jump from the very bottom quartile to the very top. And that's the most that you'll find anywhere in Virginia. And A student that's born into the bottom 1/5 of family incomes actually has a 27% chance of reaching the top 1/5 after they finish at VCU. I should say graduate from VCU so there's no confusion. VCU is the place where American dreams do come true. So to remain that way, let's take our commitments to excellence and access to the next level. More specifically, the impact that we make as a nationally prominent university should be accelerated in 3 logical ways: for our students, for our faculty and our staff, and for, of course, our patients, along with others in our community. Let's explore the 3 that I've really focused on for the rest of our time together. First, of course, I'm going to begin with our students. And I want to talk to you about a student named Megan Charity, who loves skateboards and she also loves video games. In those ways, she's kind of like a lot of college students, right? But Megan also is a National Science Foundation Research Education Scholar, and she's a VCU Wright Scholar, named after Ken and Diane Wright. And she's tackling a really, really big problem. Even though she's still working on her bachelor's degree in computer science, Megan is already a pioneer in the field of virtual reality. So while she was moving through her new age simulated worlds in her video games, she noticed that she had this age-old problem that some of you might be able to relate to. It's called motion sickness. And she's not alone. 1 in 3 people actually struggle with this, and it's a pandemic for military and civilian pilots who are training, in these virtual reality aviation booths. It's also true, by the way, for CAD-reliant shipbuilding, which, as you know, is one of our keystone industries here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Very important to our economy in Virginia. Technically, we call it cyber sickness, and Megan's going to find a cure for it. By solving thousands of equations and writing thousands of lines of code, Megan actually created a virtual reality low acceleration vehicle, or she calls it something like a virtual skateboard. Her digital deck allows VR users to navigate their simulated worlds in a more smooth fashion, with better control and with better ability to engage their surroundings. Early testing, by the way, shows a dramatic reduction in cyber sickness, and that's piqued the interest, of course, of entrepreneurs, but also our government, particularly the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. And there are others looking at this too, because it has been amazing, the results. Megan, where are you? Please stand so that we have a chance to recognize you. So, Megan, to help students like you succeed, whether here or designing virtual vehicles or creating poignant art or preparing to transform the lives of children who are in urban classrooms or in our clinics, let's build on what we've already done to make VCU what many of us view to be a student-centered university. So let's take a few examples. We've launched our REAL initiative, where Aaron Webster Garret has provided some leadership. Thank you, Aaron. And it's already beginning to transform the undergraduate experience. Our provost and her team, like members of your team like Maggie Tolan in academic advising, have widened the road to success for first-year students by designing clearer major maps and curriculum pathways so that we can connect our students through career counselors and make it easier for them to get a seat in required classes. It's one of the biggest headaches our first-year students face, is getting a schedule that works for them. We're engaging our staff, our alumni mentors, and our students' own parents and their family members so that students have support beyond what we can provide as a faculty. And we've built physical spaces that enable and inspire success. This includes, as many of you know, the 5 living learning programs that we've put together. These are environments that really engage and challenge our students, whether they're in the classroom or in their sleeping rooms. We've more than tripled our institutional student aid internally since 2008, helping more students stay in school without amassing debt. And I'm really, really grateful. It's really important that I say this. I'm so grateful to our legislature and our state in particular for ongoing and generous support to local aid. By the way, you put it all together, it's actually increased our local aid tenfold. That's awesome. And it has created so much more access, and it's given us the opportunity to take away a lot of the debt that our students once had. You know, we've also joined this national consortium of urban serving universities that share best practices to help improve student access and close the achievement gap. And this is going to end up in awarding hundreds of thousands of more degrees by the year 2025. This is the APLU, the Association for Public and Land-Grant Universities, that we're a big part of in Washington, D.C. This is inspiring, but I have to tell you, it's really only the beginning of what we've got to think about what we're going to do together. I envision that VCU will be a much more centered student-centered university everywhere. And what I mean by everywhere, it's going to take every one of us, regardless of our role. We've all got to be committed to the mission. I want every single student who engages with any one person at VCU, every office, every group, every person, to be taken seriously, the center of the attention, the center of our focus. Their questions will be answered, and we care deeply about them in transformational ways, not in transactional ways, and they can feel it. People are very perceptive and intuitive, and they know when it's sincere. And I know I can count on my community to deliver on that. You know, the Education Trust lists a few things that student-centered universities do really well, and I want to tell you a few about those. Not surprisingly, they make student success a campus-wide priority throughout the universities that are student-centered. They use good data to make great decisions. They remove obstacles that they find that are getting in the way of students reaching graduation day, and they require more from their students too. And here's how. They do things like they eliminate optional participation in the things that are shown to work and proven to work. And then there's this one, which particularly impels me. Student-centered universities are much more innovative when it comes to things like general education. The idea of base courses, of course, has worked well for most of us, and it goes back 400 years in our own country and much, much longer in Europe, of course. But very little has changed since then. In some ways, earning a degree in 2019 isn't that different than it was in 1719, but people certainly are different. Our nation and our students are changing, and we're going to change too, so that we can deliver an education for the modern American dream. Time and again, our students show us through their stunning creativity and their great selfless efforts that they have a relentless drive to find meaning in everything that they do. So why don't we find a way through a college education to make that happen? Let's help them do it. By building on what we already do so well in areas like focused inquiry that I think has been a tremendous success, VCU will become the model for modern education by inviting our students to solve the most important problems that our society faces. By giving their curriculum purpose and meaning, students today need to know why, a context in which what we're asking them to learn really makes sense. So we need to imagine students focused on things like vexing global health issues. Let's take an example. So how could they, as undergraduate students, consider why people in one zip code here in Richmond live so many years longer than their neighbors in just another zip code right next to it? Something, by the way, that we identified in VCU's Center on Society and Health. So then, we know that's the case. What could our students do about it? Or think about how powerful and how motivated they could be if they could take on things like climate change or cancer, something that we've been dedicated to as an institution at our level for so many years, or social equity, something that we know we really haven't been able to tackle in our communities in Virginia, particularly our immediate communities. Today, I'm asking all of us as a faculty to reimagine the educational experience at VCU. Let's make it more meaningful for our students and make it more purposeful and connect it more to our society. We are a public institution, and that's what people are looking for, including our students, their parents, and others who are supporting us. I challenge us to consider what a degree stands for at VCU. If someone earns a degree from VCU, in what ways have we prepared them to be thoughtful catalysts of the human experience? In which ways will VCU students in the degrees that they earn be shining examples of our national prominence? Next, a nationally prominent VCU also has a faculty, us, all of us. We are fearlessly committed to pursuing answers to save and improve people's lives. And I want to point out a couple of my colleagues, Tom Eisenberg and Allison Breland. A few months ago, they received a $20 million grant from the NIH and the Food and Drug Administration, making it, I think, a total of $40 million now since 2013. And this is to make sure that policies that regulate tobacco use are actually based on sound science and are not going to lead to unintended consequences that will make a bad problem much worse. So Tom and Allison consider a host of issues, including how products like electronic cigarettes are engineered, the psychology of smokers, and the clinical effects of tobacco use. And that's going to help the FDA and the NIH better protect not just smokers, but also non-smokers. Tom and Allison are doing really important work at a time when smoking is still killing about half of our Americans every year. I'm sorry, more than 500,000 of our Americans every year. And e-cigarette use is rising sharply, particularly among teenagers. Did I get all of that right, Tom and Allison? Please rise so that we can recognize you. Tom and Allison, really, they're not alone in their commitments to shaping the human experience. I wish I could tell you about all of the stories that I have of VCU, which I often take to Washington, D.C. to help us with our funding and support. Everywhere, VCU has people who are so committed to improving and saving people's lives, to solving serious social problems, to teaching and mentoring diverse students who will go out and shape society. But what we all recognize is that there's a place here for absolutely everyone. This is a faculty that cares more for students than any place I've ever known. In doing this, we model faculty-student engagement in ways that we should for a modern research university. And you know what? This is sorely needed. One of my highest priorities in the coming year will be to eliminate the challenges that my faculty colleagues face in your ability to pursue national prominence through our teaching mission, our research mission, our service and clinical missions. First, despite the significant gains that we've seen, we still need more faculty members. Secondly, we need to continue to focus on diversity, and more importantly, we've got to be certain that we are committed to inclusion. And I thank my colleague Ashir Nassim for all the great work that he's doing to guide me on that front. We cannot build a VCU that's accessible to everyone if we don't take our commitments to including everyone more seriously, and we can step it up. Next, we need more options to keep on board the outstanding members of our faculty who we already have here. This is going to include better compensation, which remains one of my highest priorities working with the General Assembly again this spring. It has been for many years. It's going to be another priority again this year, top priority. The Make It Real campaign, which has created more than 50 new endowed chairs and professorships and 80 endowed faculty support and research funds, has helped dramatically. We need to do more. We're making great progress, Jay. Thank you to you and your team for all your help. We can also retain our very best faculty members through promotion and tenure, a process that reflects our mission and our commitments as a modern research university. And we can also make it easier to move innovations from the laboratory or clinic or other place to the marketplace. I should include studio in that. Steps to streamline this process have already been made through VCU Venture Lab, a pre-accelerator that launched just this fall and pairs our innovators and investors with potential product users. This is going to help our faculty researchers commercialize their discoveries, and it's going to help fill a void for Virginia. Across the state, the volume of research exceeds the capacity that we have to commercialize it. What that really means is that we're collectively more productive as innovators than we are as entrepreneurs. And we've got to take entrepreneurship to the next level. That's part of the human experience. Our market potential also outpaces our resources, including access to proof of concept funding, a problem Venture Lab is going to help to alleviate. So let's make all of the resources of our enterprise work for all of us by collaborating more and competing less, and looking at our place in the overall world as opposed to looking at our world as just VCU. Let's erase the imaginary lines that we seem to have drawn between ideas and ideologies. We are one VCU. As a faculty, we perform at extraordinary levels. I want nothing to get in our way as we exemplify national prominence for VCU and the profound impact that VCU has on the human experience. I say that word because that's what we're here for, is shaping the human experience. Finally, a nationally prominent university like VCU, at VCU, it means that our healthcare mission, just like our educational mission, is as accessible as it is excellent. I want to tell you about someone named Cameron Drake. Cameron is a biomedical technician at VCU, and he repairs our dialysis machines for kidney patients. So I wanted to tell you about a remarkable twist of fate, that Cameron himself, he actually learned that he needed a kidney transplant to live. His mom, Kimberly, she donated her left kidney to her son last October at VCU Medical Center. Just hours before their procedure, Cameron wrote something on social media that I thought was really cool. A mother's love, he says, is unfathomable. She gave me life once, and she's going to do it again today. That was the day of his surgery. Kimberly and Cameron are both doing really well. The transplant was successful, and it was historic, by the way. Theirs was the 162nd kidney transplant at Hume Lee Transplant Center at VCU in 2018, which was a record. And by the year's end, by the way, I wanted to tell you, we actually had to perform 202, which is actually like an average of something like 4 in a week at VCU. Cameron can't be here today because he's actually doing so well that he's at work. But Kimberly is here. And Kimberly, could you stand? It's great to see you, Kimberly, and it's great to see you looking so well. You know, there were so many other milestones at VCU Health this year as well that I want to talk about, and I want to take a moment to thank Marcia for being my partner, my right arm in healthcare. Chandra Bhatti in medicine performed the first robotic-assisted kidney implantation anywhere in the East Coast, which means an easier recovery for both the recipient as well as the donor. Massey Cancer Center became the first in Virginia to offer FDA-approved CAR T-cell therapies. So I think most of you know what this is, but it's basically a revolutionary immunotherapy that uses the patient's own immune cells, takes them out, and puts them back in so that the cells can attack the cancer. And John McCarty, who has been our leader in this area, has just been a tremendous pioneer. I'm so proud of him. I don't know if he's here today, but I'm very grateful to him for the great work that he's done there. At Paulay Heart Center, you should know that we actually implanted our 114th total artificial heart. You saw a recipient of an implant on the screen. I wanted to tell you something. 114 actually makes it so that there are only 3 hospitals in the world, not the country, in the world that have ever done more. That's pretty cool. And as most of you who drive by 10th, 11th, and Lee Street know, because something has dramatically changed, we broke ground on our largest capital project in our history at VCU. It's our 16-story adult outpatient facility that's going to bring together the services of most of our outpatient clinics, but it includes Massey Cancer Center, and I'm really happy about that. It'll put them all in one location, and it will have wonderful parking that you will be thrilled with. But you know, it's a really significant step in what I've been talking about for years, which is my passion to transform this medical center. This is a preeminent medical center. By the way, we are again the #1 ranked hospital in Richmond. Really proud of that. But something else I'm really proud of, and I did the calculation myself, I'm so excited about it, inpatient satisfaction. In just the last 5 years, our inpatient satisfaction has increased 17%. That's a hard story to tell in a place as large and complex as ours. But you know what that does? That puts us in the top 20% of academic medical centers in terms of inpatient satisfaction. So I'm really, really pleased with that. And I cannot thank the entire healthcare team. And I'm, of course, talking about healthcare providers, our care partners, everyone who does so much to be so faithful to this vision that we have put together. So how can our national prominence ensure that every one of our patients, no matter what their background is, regardless of the pathologies they're dealing with, we want them all to have a chance at better and longer lives? That's the human experience, and that's really what our conscience tells us to do. So how can we do this? For one, VCU will be ranked top 20 among children's hospitals 3 years from now. We're going to do it. We're going to build on our successes since we've opened the Children's Pavilion just 3 years ago. By the way, in the Children's Pavilion, our patient satisfaction in the pavilion is now among the top in the nation, very high patient satisfaction. Next, we're going to make Massey Cancer Center the first NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center in the Commonwealth. That's really important. We're on the cusp of it anyway, but we're doing some things to make that happen. What does that mean? It means we're going to be able to take better care of more people with complex issues where they haven't had the hope. We're going to give them the hope. It's a larger commitment to clinical trials that's going to put us on the leading edge of medical science. We're also improving patients' abilities to access life-saving services that we provide by removing obstacles. So we're going to be focused on patient flow, and we're going to make it as easy as we can possibly make it to get into VCU and to get out of VCU healthy. This isn't a VCU problem, by the way, alone. Large medical centers around the nation struggle with this. 24 million Americans end up in the emergency rooms as opposed to getting the kind of care that they need to get. So we need to make certain that they have access. And one of the reasons, by the way, that so many Americans end up in emergency rooms is because they just can't get to see a primary care physician or the kind of specialist that they might need based on what they might be dealing with. A lot of people have no place to turn, and we're going to fix that. Finally, because we're a preeminent health system and an incredible research university put together, VCU is going to help the Richmond community become the national hub for healthcare innovation. And that's why I'm really excited to announce something to you today. It's an initiative called the Health Innovation Consortium. This is a partnership of VCU Health, Activation Capital, which you might have known as the Virginia Biotech Research Partnership, and VCU, of course. And what it's going to do, it's going to merge our commitments to research, to human health, and student success all together. This is a consortium that's going to allow students and faculty who have an idea to innovate healthcare, how they move it seamlessly from concept to commercial viability to a mature startup. That's what we need to do more of. This is a consortium that will attract the very best and the brightest health innovators in our region, and it's going to show that the real benefit of national prominence, I want you to hear this, because this is not just a superficial thing. Why is national prominence important? Because it allows us to attract the nationally prominent people who can bring us the local benefit and local impact. And we need that impact in Richmond. We know it. The Health Innovation Consortium can only happen at VCU because we're the only comprehensive public research university with a nationally prominent medical center. And an institution-wide commitment to human health. a remarkably entrepreneurial student body, and of course, we have a history of innovation at every level. We need to take it to the next level, but we have had that wonderful history of our reputation in innovation. We also have the benefit of being in a capital city with a strong collaborative and innovative ecosystem that grows every day. The spirit in Richmond is awesome. I love it. The demand is there. Last fall alone, VCU students pitched more than 60 healthcare startups through the VCU Da Vinci Center, by the way. The need is there, and this new initiative is going to help more people gain from the innovative spirit of VCU. For the patients we serve, this means more access to our nationally prominent healthcare. It's been an amazing 180 years, wouldn't you say? Not to mention what's happened in this last year. I'm so proud of what VCU has become, which is to say that honestly, I'm really very proud of all of you. There's no better place to chase your American dream than right here at a nationally prominent Virginia Commonwealth University. Thank you all so much for gathering together today for our talk. I sincerely appreciate everything that you do to shape VCU and the way that you have shaped it, and all of the ways that you touch so many people's lives. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you.